this later, they can. So, Jack, do you want to say anything before we get started? Any introduction or background?
Yeah, so the Home Innovations National Green Build Standard has been something that we've worked on for 3 or 4 years. We were initially part of the work group looking at sites and lot development. So it was chapters 4 and chapter 5, and that's where we're really going to see the biggest impact for TWCA. It is a huge standard, and Cindy has been just a gem, really an invaluable asset. And Cindy, I'll let you have it.
Okay, great. Thanks, Jack. So I'm Cindy Wasser. I'm a senior manager at Home Innovation Research Labs. Today's presentation is about the NGBS. We'll provide a high-level overview, and then I'll talk about each of the specific chapters and some of the changes with the 2020 NGBS revision. It's really a small group today, so feel free to interrupt me throughout, and we can spend more time or less time as needed, but I'm going to try to keep it high level and just touch on each of the chapters to try and make sure that we're hitting the content that's really relevant to you all. So in terms of context, Home Innovation Research Labs is a 56-year-old product testing and certification laboratory. We're located in the DC metro area, and our experience is on residential construction, and we work to reduce barriers to innovation across a number of areas, including market research, product testing, building science research, and standards development. Our corporate mission is to improve quality, durability, affordability, and environmental performance of homes. And one of the ways that we live that mission is through our efforts to expand the market for residential green certification. So we certify homes, multifamily buildings, remodel projects, and land developments to the ICC 700 National Green Building Standard, which is what we're talking about today. So the first NGBS version was released in 2008. At that time, there was a couple local and regional green building programs, but there wasn't a national rating system that was really designed for residential. And people saw that as they were pursuing certification for their residential projects, often the prescribed practices, costs, and processes didn't really match up with those of a residential timeline or budget. And so there was a need for something different because residential certifications were lagging behind other building types, namely commercial. So the NGBS was designed to address that market need. It was designed to be a voluntary above-code green rating system that covered all residential occupancies. There's no limit for number of multifamily units or building height or permitting. And something that really sets the NGBS apart is its consensus development process. As Jack mentioned, his team was involved for 3 to 4 years. It was a significant development process that involves builders, developers, product manufacturers, government representatives, and code officials. And that process has been approved by ANSI as evidence of the open and balanced process. NGBS is also the first solely residential green building standard to be included among the ICC I-codes that form a comprehensive and coordinated set of building codes. And finally, the 2015 version is also an ASHRAE standard as well. So just know that all of those recognitions really solidified the NGBS's place in the industry as a reputable, credible standard. The International Green Construction Code, the IGCC, recognizes the NGBS as an alternative compliance path for residential buildings and mixed-use buildings 4 or more stories in height, as well as the sole compliance path for single-family homes, townhomes, and residential buildings below 4 stories to comply. And this is pretty significant because in areas where the IGCC is adopted as an overlay code, developers will often choose to pursue that alternative compliance route instead of meeting the IGCC criteria because it's much more straightforward and flexible. And we're seeing more and more jurisdictions, including Dallas, Texas, Washington, DC, Montgomery County, Maryland, adopting the International Green Construction Code. So as an ANSI standard, the NGBS is subject to regular review and update. So the NGBS has followed a 3-year update cycle with versions released in 2008, 2012, 2015, and 2020. The 2008 version has been retired. The 2012 version is winding down. So at this point, projects can only pursue that if they've already been registered and they have some tight timelines. The next 2 or 3 years is when they need to be wrapping up. So right now, the 2015 and the 2020 versions are the versions that the builders have the choice between. Someone might assume that the 2015 version would be the one pursued by most builders because it references older reference standards. However, there's a lot of really amazing new improvements with the 2020 that we've been really telling folks, take a close look at both versions and really pick the one that will work best for your project, because there might be things about the 2020 that make it more appealing. So some of those updates include an expanded definition of what it means to be residential that make the NGBS much more applicable to a wider set of buildings. There's a new water efficiency performance path, which we're going to talk about in a little bit. There's a new certified level for homes, townhomes, duplexes, and quads, mixed-use building certification, and more flexible renovation requirements. So a couple of these updates are going to make the NGBS much more relevant to a larger set of the industry, particularly those that have been more commercially minded in the past. So as I said before, the NGBS covers all residential, land developments, new construction, both single family, multifamily, and mixed use, and renovation. Renovation of all scales from more minor to big building conversions, gut rehabs. So what makes the NGBS different? So first, the NGBS is comprehensive, both in terms of its broad residential scope as well as its breadth of green building practices. The NGBS is more than just a design standard. There are practices that address design, construction, verification, and operations and maintenance. As one of the I codes, NGBS is written in code language, and that makes it really easy for any industry professional to pick it up and really understand what's being asked of them. There are a few mandatory provisions that are scattered throughout, but largely the NGBS is an expansive, flexible, point-based system. A project team can identify which certification level they want to pursue and then pick and choose the practices that will help get them to that goal. And then this is something that you might be a little bit surprised at, but the NGBS is one of just a couple green building standards that have specific provisions for the tropical climate zone. This had been an afterthought among other programs, and this has become very significant because in areas like Puerto Rico and Virgin Islands, there's significant money available through HUD for recovery, and that's tied to having a green building certification. And since the NGBS has those special provisions for the tropical climate zone, it's often selected among those that are available through HUD. So as I said before, the 2020 NGBS significantly expanded what it means to be residential. It also added a certification opportunity for mixed-use buildings. So previously, mixed-use buildings, you could just get the residential portion certified. Now you can get the whole building certified if there are green practices incorporated into the design of the commercial space. So what does that mean specifically? So the 2020 NGBS residential definition includes all the buildings within the International Residential Code, and then all of the Group R occupancies within the IBC, International Building Code. And so that, and then also it includes all of the Group I1 occupancies in the IBC. So that the Group I1 occupancies include things like assisted living, residential board and care facilities, dormitories, monasteries, and more. So it's going to be interesting over the next couple of years how different developers pick up and start to use the NGBS based on this new definition. We've heard a number of hotels and extended stay motels interested in certification. We have already certified a number of assisted living and memory care facilities, seniors 55 plus communities, but we'll see if there's even more diversity that comes our way with this new definition. So as I said before, for a project to comply with NGBS, they have to hit the mandatory practices without exception. Many of those don't have any points, but they're required for certification. And then you have to pick and choose additional points beyond that to reach the desired certification level. All practices must be 100% verified by an independent third-party verifier through on-site verification and/or document review based on what the practice entails. So these are the categories of practices for new construction projects: lot design development, resource efficiency, energy efficiency, water efficiency, indoor environmental quality, and operations and maintenance. So if you're familiar with other rating systems, the NGBS is a little bit different because it's not based on a total point accumulation. For a project to be certified, they need to hit point minimums in each and every category, as well as overall. And then to move up from one certification level to another, they have to hit higher point thresholds in every category. And so this makes the NGBS much more rigorous and ensures a more comprehensive achievement of green practices. A project can't just group its points in the energy efficiency section, for example, or it can't just earn a number of great points based on its location in a more dense urban core and get a lot of chapter 5 points, for example. It needs to be higher performing across the board to be certified. So first we're going to talk about the land development certification. So this is chapter 4. This is a standalone rating system. It's a certification of the land development or a subdivision or a planned community, and it's designed to be an alternative to LEED for neighborhood development, or LEED ND, and it's a bit more flexible and affordable. So if you're familiar with LEED ND, it's very much written as a design standard. It talks about the distance away from a community entrance that you're supposed to have certain features. And the NGBS is written in a way that's much easier to pick up, and it has practices for design, construction, and verification as well. So chapter 4 provides certification for the land development. Both new and existing land developments can qualify. There are 4 certification tiers: 1, 2, 3, and 4 stars. They're named as such to set the land development certification apart from the building certification levels, which are bronze, silver, gold, and emerald. So unlike other green neighborhood certification programs, the NGBS does not require high density for a neighborhood to earn certification. So as long as the green development practices are implemented, the neighborhood can be certified, whether it's suburban, rural, or urban. The land developments can be any size. Home Innovation has certified developments as small as 9 single-family lots and as large as 20,000 acres. The land development can be intended for any mix of buildings, provided that at least one building is going to be residential occupancy. And this certification is entirely separate from the building certification. There is a benefit when the buildings are intended to pursue a green certification. You can get points in the land development certification system, and then in the building criteria, likewise, you can get points if a building is going to be certified and it's on a certified land development. However, that's not a requirement. That's optional. You can get just the land development certification or just the building certification. They're not tied. So there's 2 different options for land development. So in some places, there's a lot of focus on the permitting and zoning of new communities. And so sometimes it can be beneficial for a land developer to have a letter of approval saying that the practices that they're going to implement are designed to be green and more conservative of the existing natural resources. And then, so we can issue a letter of approval at the design stage that essentially says that based on what you've submitted and the documentation that's been reviewed by a third party, this development would be eligible for certification once all the activities are complete. And this allows the developer to start marketing their community as green certified. And then there's final certification that's issued once all the activities are complete. And for larger communities, they can do certification in phases, like we can certify lots 1 through 39 and then 40 to 49, depending on what makes sense in terms of their timeline. So these are the sections in Chapter 4: site selection, project team, mission statement and goals, site design, site development and construction, and innovative practices. And these are the point requirements for the different levels. So TWCA qualified grasses can help a land developer earn 6 points in Chapter 4. The language says where turf is being planted, TWCA or equivalent are used, and you can get 6 points. And this is verified by a third-party professional confirming that the selected practices are indeed qualified. They'd be checking a website or the vendor's information. They check that those grasses are specified in the landscape plan and then ensure that they are indeed installed on the site once everything is complete. So that's Chapter 4. Now we're moving into the next section. So chapters 5 through 10 are the core set of criteria for new construction projects to be certified. I'm going to go through these pretty quickly, and I'm going to focus on some of the building products that can contribute toward a builder developer earning points. I'm going to try to keep this kind of high level and oriented toward what's relevant to you. So the next section is Chapter 5, lot design, preparation, and development. This section has a lot of parallel practices to the land development certification, but the practices are much more specific to the lot on which the certified home or building is to be constructed. Some of the products that can help contribute toward points in this chapter are water efficient irrigation systems, landscaping materials like permeable construction materials, water efficient grasses, organic soil amendments, and vegetation and trellises designed for shade and vegetation growth. With the 2020 update, there were no new mandatory practices added to this section, but there were a lot of new, more innovative practices added that focus on walkability, bike storage, vehicle refueling, smoking prohibitions, and siting a home with areas of high density. There's also a set of new practices dedicated to indoor and outdoor recreation space. So similar to in Chapter 4, there's a practice for TWCA qualified grasses here as well. This one earns 3 points. The language is exactly the same, and it's going to be verified in the same way. A third-party verifier is going to confirm that the grasses are indeed qualified, check that they're specified in the landscape plan, and check that they're installed on the site. The next section is resource efficiency. So Chapter 6 deals with material use, waste management, moisture management, and building so that the home is resilient and designed for the climate and conditions in that area where the home's constructed. So this is where a number of building materials can contribute toward a home or building being certified. products that are more resource efficient, more durable, low emitting, products like modular, panelized, manufactured components can earn points because of their efficient use of materials. So a variety of products can earn points in this section. Downspout systems, hardscaping materials, flooring, carpeting, railing and deck, and more. Siding is another big one. Siding can help earn points for being pre-finished, for being termite resistant, and having recycled content. So with the 2020 changes, there's just a couple new mandatory practices in Chapter 6. There's some new practices related to recycling and waste management. There's a new section on product declarations and resilient construction. And then there's no changes to the overall point thresholds for this section. The next section is energy efficiency. So the energy efficiency section is pretty comprehensive. There's a lot going on. If you have one big takeaway about this section, it should be that the baseline for the 2020 NGBS is the 2018 IECC, the International Energy Conservation Code. So a home that's certified as bronze will be roughly equivalent to the IECC baseline. And then higher levels of certification, silver, gold, emerald, will be higher performing beyond that baseline. There are a number of products that can help earn points toward this section. So Energy Star appliances, smart appliances with remote sensing and controls can help earn points in this category. There's more and more practices within the 2020 NGBS related to energy and water management. So components like automatic leak detection and controls, programmable thermostats, sub-metering systems, water meters, etc. They can earn points because they help residents better understand and control their utility usage. HVAC products can contribute as they are low emitting and efficient. Things like fireplaces, exhaust fans, humidifiers, dehumidifiers, ventilation systems, depending on what criteria or specifications they meet, they could potentially earn points. Insulation products can earn points under the energy efficiency category based on their thermal performance, as well as under Chapter 9, the indoor environmental quality section because of their low emitting properties. Windows and doors are another big product category for energy efficiency. They can earn points for meeting air leakage and UA requirements in the energy efficiency section, and then in the resource efficiency section, they can contribute toward points if they're pre-finished, contain recycled content, or are made of bio-based materials. So as I said before, the baseline for the 2020 NGBS is the 2018 IECC. And then with the new changes, this new version, there's more flexibility. So I'm not going to go into this in great detail, but just know that a builder or developer has lots of choice in this section. They can demonstrate through a performance path or a prescriptive path, or if they're doing energy rating index based on their local building code, they can use that as a way to demonstrate compliance. And then there's also a number of alternative paths, which are largely based on Energy Star or code compliance. And these have been deemed alternative because if they choose to do like alternative bronze, for example, the building can't earn anything more than bronze. Chapter 7 has a couple of new practices with 2020, vehicle fueling, smart ventilation, refrigerants, air sealing, etc. Next section is water efficiency. So this section has components for indoor water use as well as outdoor water use. And outdoor water use focuses on irrigation systems, installation of irrigation products, and landscaping as well. And there's some interplay between Chapter 5 and Chapter 8. So this section has always been pretty prescriptive in nature, that you need to meet a number of practices and earn points to meet the section's compliance. But with 2020, there was a new performance path added, and it's called the Water Rating Index, or WRI. And so what that means is that a builder can choose to go that route, use the performance path, and they're working through like a calculator tool that provides a 0 to 100 score of their property's water use. And I think this is really exciting because it gives the design team some more useful tools to see, at the beginning stages of construction, how their choices influence the expected water use of the home as a whole system. And then at the end of construction, we're issuing a green certificate for the home that includes that water rating index value. So homeowners can start to better see how the utilities will factor into the total cost of ownership for their home. So the water rating index is going to be available for new construction projects. It's also included within the single family certified path, which we're going to talk about in a little bit. And I've noted here that the verifiers will need some additional training. So you can't just use an accredited verifier. It needs to be someone with some specialized training to go this route. The water rating index includes components for indoor water use, any of the water using devices in the home, like toilet, shower, bathtub, faucet, dishwasher. It also addresses structural waste, which is the amount of water that's in the pipes that might have to run in your shower or on your sink before the water gets to a desired temperature. And then for outdoor water use, the key areas of focus are landscape water use. And the tool that we've designed, it reflects the local climate of the home. So we have rainfall data, evapotranspiration data in the back of the tool. So, based on the specific zip code entered, we can really see, okay, you've got these types of plants and this irrigation system, and here's the month by month expected water to be used. And then for non-landscape water use, that's pools, spas, fountains, that's looking at how much water is expected to be evaporated from those components based on the local climate conditions. And then finally, there's water capture for reuse. Rainwater, gray water, black water can be captured to offset any of the other water uses for the home. All right, so Chapter 9 is indoor environmental quality. There are a number of sustainable materials that can contribute toward earning points in this section, including third-party certified low-emitting products, products that are more sustainable due to the manufacturer's environmental responsibility, products that are more transparent, like those that have an environmental product declaration, and those that are shown to be lower, have lower impact based on a life cycle assessment analysis. So the products that can contribute toward points include cabinets, carpets, wall coverings, insulation, and more. With the 2020, there's a couple new mandatory practices in this section for microbial growth and moisture inspection, radon testing, and then there's a number of optional practices that were added, including sound barrier, mold prevention, and common area ventilation. So the NGBS, as I said before, is not just a design standard. There's practices for design, construction, verification, and ongoing operations and maintenance. And for any home or building to be certified, there's mandatory components for development of a manual for the building's occupants or property manager, training of occupants, and engagement with the real estate community as well. For the 2020 NGBS, there's a couple new mandatory practices in this section, but largely the section has been pretty consistent over the course of, the different versions of NGBS that have been released. So those were all the components for a new construction project to be certified. We have a couple more sections to walk through. The next is remodeling. This is whole building remodeling of either a single family home or a multifamily building. We've seen a lot of activity among multifamily renovations, including a lot of building conversions, like a building that's being transitioned from industrial or office use to residential. And I think we're going to see more and more of that in the next couple of years as we're changing the ways that we work and where we work. So with the 2020, there was a major overhaul of this section. So previously, this section was pretty performance-based. For water and energy, the design team and verifier were coming up with like the before conditions of the home and then demonstrating that there was like 15 to 20% water and energy efficiency gains through the renovation activities. Now there's still those performance pathways, but there's also new prescriptive paths added as well, which allows more flexibility. And there's also a 3-year look back for activities. So if there's more phased renovation, the project can consider all of the activities that happened over a 3-year period to establish that baseline condition. Chapter 12 is the new certified path. This is an all-inclusive certification pathway specifically designed for single-family homes. So only single-family homes, duplexes, quads can earn this certification. And there's no, it's a little bit different from the other sections. It's a binary system. All applicable practices are mandatory, and compliant buildings only earn a certified level. So this pathway was really designed for like those production builders that work across multiple regional markets and have multiple home designs that they're implementing, that it's like a smaller set of practices that they can implement. And so it saves them time and energy from weeding through all the other options that are available with the new construction pathway. So I think this is going to be really exciting to see how this gets picked up in the market. I think it's going to make the NGBS much more relevant for production builders, and it will also allow us to green a wider stretch of the market that we hadn't been touching before. A lot of our certification activity has been, multifamily has been really big for us. Multifamily of all types, both affordable and market rate. But single family has lagged a little bit behind. We've been working with a lot of great smaller regional builders, but some of the production builders have been harder to engage because it's been harder for them to pick it up and use.
Have you seen an increase then in interest since you've been talking about this? Have you seen more of those cross-market builders starting to engage with this a little bit?
I think it's still a little bit too early to tell because the 2020 NGBS was first made available in late April. So I think we're going to get there. It's just going to take a little bit more time before we see some results. But I am talking about this certified path at EBA this week, which has a lot of more production builders. So I'm really excited to see what the conversation is like then.
Okay, cool, thanks.
Mm-hmm. So the certified path, it's not a watered down or less rigorous version. In fact, in terms of energy efficiency, the requirements are higher than the bronze level certification for new construction. Just this path has a smaller set of practices, and the most impactful green measures were selected from each of the chapters 5 through 10. So like for lot design, there's just a smaller set of practices. You can't build in the floodplain, or if you build in the floodplain, you have to do some special considerations for the land. For resource efficiency, you're addressing moisture and mold. You're addressing water and energy performance. With water efficiency, you can do prescriptive or performance, just like you can for new construction. And then there's a couple things for indoor environmental quality and operations and maintenance. The next section is chapter 13, commercial space. This was another one that was newly added for 2020. It provides a compliance path for the commercial space of mixed use buildings to comply. For this to be used, the residential portion of the building needs to be at least 49% of the building, and the residential portion needs to be seeking certification or already certified. A developer can't just pursue the commercial space certification on its own. They're always tied, but the commercial space portion is optional. There's only one level, which is certified. So a builder would earn bronze, silver, gold, or emerald for the residential portion, and then the commercial space would earn certified. For chapter 13, all practices are mandatory. And then there are two options. There's the core and shell option. So like the commercial space, if it's at this stage, as what's shown in the photo, it can be reviewed and inspected for air barrier, air sealing, thermal envelope, installation, and this can be done either at the same time as the residential portion or after, depending on what the timeline is for building out the space. And then a developer can also choose to pursue full fit out, and that means that after the commercial space is fully built out, that all the relevant practices are met. And again, this can be timed with the residential portion or later on, depending on the lease out schedule of the space. So this section has these components: bicycle parking, resource efficiency, energy efficiency, water efficiency, indoor air quality, and operations maintenance, and builder owner education. So it's the same sections as what we talked about for residential, but the practices are more geared for a commercial audience. So for the water efficiency section, there's practices that deal with food service equipment. For indoor environmental quality, there's different components that focus on the ventilation systems of more commercially designed spaces.
As a follow-up with the water efficiency, so do you lose a lot of the landscape practices then in chapter 13 because you're not going to see as much of that? So most of that goes away and it's all almost exclusively interior focused?
Exactly, yeah. So this is, there's virtually no outdoor practices because those would already be addressed with the residential portion being certified. And then this is just focused on that commercial interior space.
Okay.
All right, and then next thing I'm going to talk about is NGBS Green Plus, which is something that we've been really excited about and rolled out over the last couple of months. This is something that wasn't in the NGBS standard specifically, but it's something that Home Innovation has rolled out as a new offering, and it's based on the 2020 practices. So NGBS Green Plus is designed to provide some supplementary recognition for homes or buildings that are higher performing in one or more areas of green practice. So a builder or developer wouldn't need to seek outside ratings or labels in addition to their NGBS Green certification, that we can be a one-stop shop. So, currently if a home is seeking green certification but wanted to be recognized as being net zero, the builder might consider getting the DOE Zero Energy Ready Home label, and that entails Energy Star certification, Indoor Air Plus labeling. So it's like 3 additional partnerships. With NGBS Green Plus, they can get that additional recognition right from us. There's 6 options: resilience, zero water, net zero energy, wellness, smart home, and universal design. And I think that this is going to be really helpful for consumers. Like consumers more and more are looking for health and smart controls, especially in this current weird market. And this provides a way to shed some additional focus on those features of the home in a really visible way. It helps the builders and developers tell that story of, yeah, this home's green certified, but it's also net zero. It's also designed for health. So this is tracked in the same scoring tool that a verifier would use if they're verifying a home for certification. And then it's additional recognition that's on the home certificate. It's an additional set of logos for the builders and developers to use in their marketing materials. And we're also going to be featuring products on our website that can help contribute toward earning one or more badges. So I'm really excited to showcase a set of curated products that can help support earning the smart home badge or help support earning the plus wellness badge. So that's something we're going to be rolling out over the next couple months. So look to that on our website for more details. So I've talked a bit about certification so far. I mentioned that Home Innovation certifies homes as being in compliance. What that means is that we accredit third-party verifiers to inspect the buildings for compliance, and then we issue certification upon our review of their documents. And we ensure that everything meets, and then certification is conferred at time of construction. No ongoing or post-occupancy review is required. And in operating our program, we've really focused on eliminating barriers, both real and perceived, that might prevent someone from seeking a green certification. So we've worked to keep our costs low, and we've worked to eliminate some of the challenges administratively that had, made it more challenging for green certification to be pursued in the past. We've really worked to eliminate a lot of processing hurdles, documentation that was deemed as unnecessary by our partners. We really work closely with our partners, really listen to their experience, and we're always adapting over time and pivoting as needed. So we've really set ourselves apart as being a rigorous, affordable, and flexible option for green certification. So the process looks like this. So first, a design team will score their project to see how it would stack up. That same checklist that they're using at the design phase and what's provided to the verifier when they're going out for inspections. They would also hire an accredited verifier. All accredited verifiers are listed on our website. They're searchable by the regions where they work. The verifier is the one that's going to register the project. Registration is free but mandatory. During construction, there's a minimum of 2 inspections for most compliance pathways, 1 pre-drywall and another at final. For multifamily, every unit is inspected. And then once everything's complete, everything's inspected, the documentation comes to us. We review every report that comes in, and then we issue certification within 1 business day, provided that everything's complete and accurate. So as I said previously, a lot of our single family builders have been smaller, custom, small volume builders. These are folks that are looking to set themselves apart from the national production builders that build in their areas. And they're located in all locations, urban, suburban, exurban, and all price ranges. So some examples, I'm not sure where everyone's based, but like in Washington State, one of our big clients is Urban Northwest Homes. They build a really remarkable net zero home. And then in North Carolina, Homes by Dickerson is another example of like a regional production builder that's made a strong commitment to the NGBS program. And multifamily has really been the bulk of our activity to date. We've touched all segments of multifamily, mostly new construction, but we've seen a big uptick in renovation as well. Market rate, affordable, low-income housing tax credit, building conversions. And some of this is driven by the investors. They see a green certification as a means for long-term value retention. Green certification is sometimes also a requirement of state affordable housing program requirements. Or for some developers, they choose to do it because they see it as really important for their quality assurance commitments, that it's really important for them to have a third-party professional going onto the site and checking out everyone's work, checking, make sure that all the components of the system are properly installed. So as I said before, you know, investors really favor green certification. So institutional investors want green certification. They make a commitment to that. Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac have preferred financing for green certifications for both new and rehabilitated buildings. And then HUD has a significant mortgage insurance premium reduction, and the NGBS is one option to meet that for new and rehab projects. This slide is a little bit dated. At this point, there's at least 25 states that recognize NGBS certification as a component for low-income housing tax credit incentives. And this is pretty significant because when a state that doesn't have a lot of green building activity first includes green requirements in their affordable housing programs, we start to see in a couple years after that, you know, more and more of the building community is familiar with green building practices, and it starts to trickle down to more of the mainstream market rate builders. This is our certification activity over the last 10 years. The blue bar segments are our multifamily activity, and the orange is single family. So you can see that single family has been pretty steady for us, but the multifamily activity has been growing significantly year over year. At this point, we're really close to having certified nearly 250,000 homes and apartments. We expect to hit that milestone before the end of the year.
Nice.
So in addition to certifying homes and buildings and remodel projects, we also certify building products that can help a builder or developer earn points. So, you know, we walk through each of the chapters, and I mentioned the product categories that could help earn points. They're really wide ranging: appliances, foundations, insulation, siding, like any component that goes into a home has the potential to be certified because of the wide range of practices included in the NGBS. We work with a number of small brands as well as larger brands like DuPont and Certainteed and Weyerhaeuser. So when a manufacturer gets their product certified, they receive a third-party product certificate that they can use when they're communicating the environmental performance or the features of their building to their potential clients or their distributors, their partners. And they also get use of our certification logos they can use on their marketing materials, their product packaging, etc. And they also get a, oh, go ahead.
I'm sorry, how would a vendor go about getting certification?
Yeah, so there is an application packet. It's pretty straightforward. They're outlining how their product meets one or more of the practices, and where relevant, they're noting third-party reference materials that they've included that speak to that applicability. We review that, and if everything is complete, accurate, we'll issue certification and list them on our website.
And is there a fee associated with that?
There is. It's pretty affordable. So to apply initially, there's a $300 application fee. And then once the product's been certified, there's an annual certification and listing fee that starts at $1,250. The most that any one given product group would be assessed would be $2,000. So per product between $1,250 and $2,000.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm. So all certified products are listed on our website. They're searchable by category, by brand name, and then by the particular practice. So if you want to find all the products that have recycled content, a builder verifier can search by that and see the full list. And then we actively push out product spotlights on our corporate webpage, as well as in our monthly newsletter that goes to about 16,000 of our program partners, developers, builders, architects, and stakeholders. So I often tell manufacturers that, you know, a key thing that they should consider when they're considering certification is that it can have the potential to open them up to our network. So they have a much bigger foot in the door if they're trying to use our builder lists or architect lists, or if they're trying to connect with verifiers in the areas where they work to do business development, that having that product certification is a way to you know, create some common ground. It also certified manufacturers stay informed of our program updates, and we often do special promotion of certified products at events that we're attending, particularly the International Builders Show. So that's all I had. We walked through a lot. We have about 10 more minutes, so let me know if you want me to go back to any section, or, you know, what do you want to talk about?
You know, I have some questions about product certification. So as a qualifier of drought tolerant turf, would we go through the same certification process, or can we talk about that? Is it going to be different, or how can we best engage with the certification process of product?
Yeah, so typically, like an individual company would submit saying they have this cultivar, it has been qualified as meeting TWCA, and they would provide a link to where we can confirm that on the TWCA website. And that would be a way for an individual company to engage and get their products certified, and we can do all the promotions that we just talked about. I wonder if there's something special that we could do with your association, because you know, maybe there's a way for the association to provide the list of all the certified products that we can do like a review and like a big batch, and do some like cross promotion. That might be like an easier lift for the individual companies to get certified if we do it like at an association level, given that all of your member organizations have those qualifying products.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, and that would be, I think, an easier sell for them to be able to say, okay, well, rather than going through 140 of these in the process, we can do this once, and this is what it takes for us. And how long is that? So it's an annual then, or do they have to?
You don't have to reapply every year, but you need to complete some documentation stating that there's been no changes to your products that have changed their like eligibility, and then like repay the certification fees every year.
Okay. Okay. That's fantastic.
Yeah, let's keep talking about that.
Yeah, because I think that would be, I think that would be something that would be really attractive, not only for our seed producer members, but we've also got a number of, you know, distributor or sod members who carry TWCA qualified product, but who may not be able to make that that connection. So I think that would be a good opportunity. Okay, yeah, I'm
Awesome.
happy to follow up afterwards.
Cool. Awesome.
Yeah. Do Do you have anything else you want to talk about? Separate, maybe, you know, I don't know if you've been reading any good books or. Clint, do you have anything you want to talk about?
No, it's just kind of interesting listening in a little bit, and excuse me. I was kind of like you and listening in to see where we stood on the turf issues and things like that. And, you know, from a more vegetative standpoint, grasses as opposed to seed grasses is what I was kind of listening to. But I think some of our grasses like Tiff Tough that's shown a 33% water reduction. And we need to make sure those are included in some of these because the science is there for the grasses, Cindy, with some of our newer cultivars that are coming out, not only the seeded materials like Jack's probably more familiar with, but many of our vegetative materials as well. So those that have to be vegetated purely propagated purely vegetatively. So we've got some new products out there, and I say we, I'm talking just the turf industry and the breeders and academia all together that are some exciting things that are coming down. So
that's awesome. Yeah. And I had said at the beginning that the NGBS had been on a 3-year update cycle, but I think going forward, we're going to be in what people call continuous maintenance. So there's going to be, you don't need to wait 3 years. If there's a new innovative practice, we can consider having it added sooner rather than later. So yeah, it'd be great to incorporate some additional practices related to what you just described.
sure.
Real easy, Clint. Just put it through TWCA. We'll get it in there for you, buddy. I got you dialed.
Well, you work with Brian Schwartz, so you know that's his baby. Let's get it in there, but it's certainly it does what it says it's supposed to. And my name's not on the patent, and I received no royalties. So
yeah, you're not selling a bill of goods. No, I really appreciate it.
Well, hey, let me go. Thank you very much. I'm glad you put this out there for folks. It's something other than kind of outside of my wheelhouse, but I did appreciate just kind of listening in and picking up a few things here and there. So thank you, Cindy. I appreciate your time.
Thank you, Clint. Thanks for joining. All right.
Yep.
Thanks, Jack. Thanks for setting this up. This has been great. And I've recorded it so we can push this out to a larger group afterward.
Thank you. And you have a great day. I look forward to following up with you after this.
Great. Thanks so much. Bye.